That actually is oftentimes what I would also look at, and maybe some of the other panelists can agree or disagree, is how compatible that individual might be. So what's the chemistry like going to be when you talk to an individual? You understand how they will interact with other people in the organization. You kind of touched on that a little bit. HR does it from one point of view, but the business line managers will do it from a very different point of view as well, right? So that's another aspect. Once again, the individual degree may or may not be important in some states.
Any about HR. So, especially in government sector, when we talk about some prestigious examination like IAS and IPS, so these process take such a long time, like 1 year or 2 years to pass out the preliminary examination, then main examination, then you come to a personal interview. So, with the help of technology, to use that, how we can reduce such a long process into effective and efficient way.
Since this is related to IAS, IPS, I'm not very competent, so if anybody wants to pick it up.
I am the government representative. By the way, I don't take any cuts and all. I'm closest. So we used to have even fights with IAS officers because it was who's higher. Anyway, so you have a very good question, how can technology help? Since I have been, I wasn't involved in the selection in the Air Force, but very much involved in the private sector right now. I don't know about IAS, IPS selections because the requirement is different than what I underwent when I got selected. There is a problem here. The technology, I feel the technology should support only in fast processing of the information. But I have found often that the selection, if it is left to the computers based on, like some of the panelists said, that the human element is gone, in that case, you end up selecting the wrong person for the field. Because technology is there, it is there to help you, but it is yet to come anywhere close to replacing or, coming close to a human performance. I was reading an article recently where they were talking about robo development, and even the best of the robots today are not even 10% of what the humans can do. So this is where the selection cannot be or should not be so much technology based, and because of that, unfortunately, the process becomes long. A recent example I wanted to quote, my son is now passing out of engineering, and we used to think he's very intelligent, he does well. And in all the entrance exams, he never did well. When I had a technical problem, he would solve it in minutes, so much so that I started depending on him. And I said, why doesn't he get good marks, in the entrance exam? So I have an elder cousin brother of mine who's a deep thinker, and he said, probably your son is not a fast thinker. What has happened is because of too much of population, it's hard even for the IITs to select, In my times, it used to be a theory paper. As an engineer, I can say that your thinking is more important than the speed. But when there are so many people, the technology jumps in, and it's only evaluating people for fast thinking. Once you become an engineer, not necessarily every time you have to think fast. You are given a problem, you have to think, different options. So this is where I feel that if IAS and IPS is, they can speed up the process, I don't know, but they can, but I feel they should not involve in the selection. The selection must, so to say, value the human things. Human cannot think as, or can't perform as fast as a computer, so don't evaluate him with the computer. That's what I would say.
On the candidate's capability or depends on the company itself?
Sorry, come again.
The candidate's capability or depends on the company or business?
Yeah, very good question. I think there is no binary answer, and both the things are necessary because, for example, in any industry or any company, the growth of a candidate largely depends on the growth of company's business. At the same time, if you have competence, then you can grow whether within that company or outside the company. But if you don't have the necessary competence to grow, then whether the company is growing or otherwise, you will still remain stagnant. So frankly speaking, there is no binary answer. What is more important is for an individual to understand what is his or her definition of growth. For some people, salary. For some people, kind of work that they do. For some people, it is location. For some people, it is the area in which they do the work. So everybody has different way of defining growth. There is no standard industry kind of a definition or a mathematical definition of growth that says, okay, if my salary is increasing at 15%, if I go 2 times a year abroad, then my career is growing. There is no standard definition as such. But having said that, obviously both need to go hand in hand. They can't go in isolation.
To this question, I would like to respond as recruitment and selection doesn't matter on what exactly a person is thinking for, but it keeps varying as per the need of the company sometimes and as per the need of the candidate sometimes. So that need sometimes changes, and because of that, it is not matching up the current requirement. So for me as an HR, I never reject any candidate, but a candidate is found not suitable to that particular current situation or scenario. So it varies from time to time. Like I would like to give an example for a non-married person and for a married person. So needs are different. And because of that, a person looks for certain limited roles. For a married person, will look for a limited roles. And for a non-married person, there is it's diverse, versatile, person is dynamic because it is fresh with energies and can go into any role, but it should match with the current needs and scenarios. That could be your answer.
Yeah, I just want to add one another basically element there. Company perform, I think individual efforts are also important. Because since you're from the college and joining some or other company, so what we've seen is, yes, you might have a very high capability, very high competency before you join, but once you join, like you are among the 10,000 people, okay? And it means at least I can talk about IT industry. It's all about performance, right? There are 10% people who are not performing, might have to exit, whether you like it or don't like it, right? So yes, the capability, the efforts what you are taking, and definitely, as Satish has rightly said, the company has to grow. If company is not growing, then definitely you cannot grow. Maybe your team size might reduce, and that 10% norm become 50%. Okay, so you need to decide where you want to stand, in first 20%, 30%, 50%, or the last 10%.
Thank you. Getting signals that our time is up, but I will still give a last chance. One more question and then we will close the session.
Good afternoon, sir. I'm going to ask, before finally appointing any person, the recruiters go on scrolling their profiles, the social profile as well as professional profile. When LinkedIn is there as the professional profile and the candidate is showcasing all the information in what all company is needing, why they go for scrolling and gauging the person on the basis of their social profiles like Facebook and Twitter?
You want to take it, Paran?
I think you're saying, why would a recruiter or hiring manager want to look at social profiles, Facebook, what have you, when LinkedIn is what they're looking for? So I think these days, it's more than just the professional part of it, right? You're spending a lot of time with the company. I mentioned a little bit earlier about the chemistry and stuff like that. So it's important to understand what kind of person the new candidate may be, right? What do they actually do outside of work? Sometimes what happens is people do things outside of work that reflect upon their professional work as well. Also sometimes it reflects on the company itself. Good examples of these are professional athletes, right? So they get endorsements from different kinds of companies, and they do dope or something else and rile up in some scandals, and it actually reflects on the company's sales, right? Tiger Woods is a good example. Marion Jones is another good example. Lance Armstrong now more recently is a better example as well, right? So these guys are employees of these companies, even though they may be called brand ambassador. At the end of the day, they are employees, right? So you have to select these types of people as well. Now, that is at a different level, and the money equation is significantly higher there. But even on a day-to-day basis, what kind of an individual are you? That is very important to all the other people as well. So, Does that kind of help answer the question a bit? Anybody else?
Just to add, actually, that's like a screening, basically. So nowadays there are endorsements and there are recommendations on LinkedIn, right? So of course, someone would say, okay, I recommend you, you recommend me. But basically, it's a screening to understand what the person could be. So, you would create a picture of what that person has done in the past and could do, and whether that is suitable for what the role is. So the reason obviously is you cannot, when there are hundreds of candidates, you have to make a decision. You have to filter out. And this becomes one of the aspects of filtering out. And of course, it can go wrong. It can be abused. But nevertheless, that is a tool that the recruiters use.
The last point on this was, when you are entering into a company, the rest of the world looks at you as the ambassador of that company. And any wrong things particularly you do, they get immediately associated and highlighted for good or bad reasons by the media. So for example, you are trying to go abroad and you use a forged passport. Immediately they will say XYZ person from PQR company tried to use forged passport. Now that company has never kind of motivated you to use a forged passport, but your name gets associated with your employer very quickly, particularly in bad scenarios. And that's why corporates are extremely clear about whom they associate with, not only on a professional competence, but even on the personal background. So we will just take one last question. That lady had raised a hand. So one last question and we will close the session. Go on.
Hello, sir. Good evening to you. So my question is that, as sir said, the technology provides a support. Like there is certain interview over the telephone or a conference, then how you are going to evaluate the personality, or you are going to judge that person, because sometimes there may be a miscommunication.
Right. So there are different ways to rely on a telephonic, you can sit down please. Most don't rely only on a telephonic conversation. They have a face-to-face interview. At least they do a video conferencing to ensure that they see the person and they validate the identity. There are some other techniques where there are different tools available for personality traits finding out. So there is a technique called DISC profiling. There is a technique called Hogan profiling. So you are asked about 100 different questions. Some of them are repetitive questions, and you are expected to answer them honestly in a given time. And based on that, there are statistical tools which actually categorize you. And just to give you an example, whether you are an aggressive person, whether you are an influential person, this kind of categorization is done. So it's not only about the your telephonic interview, but there are lots of other techniques that are nowadays used to understand the other aspects than the technology competence. So thank you, audience. Thank you for very interesting questions. I know I have overshot the given time, but I took the luxury of being the moderator of this group. And thanks once again to MIT for giving us the opportunity to interact with this team. And we hope we will have more such opportunities in the future. So on behalf of the panel, we really thank you, all of you.
Thank you so much, all the panel members and panel moderator. The discussion has surely given our future managers an idea how to shape themselves in an era where technology and HR go hand in hand. So I would ask all the panel members, or maybe rather request all the panel members to join us for the second panel discussion, which will begin in few minutes. Thank you, everyone. Discussion will begin in few minutes. All the students loitering around behind.
Already arrived. I request you to join the hands for them.